and welcome back to the Rogues of the Garage channel. Thank you for joining me today as I continue on this journey of mail calls related to the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. We've got multiple envelopes today, so let's get started. Let's see here. What do we have? Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we start off with a nice one. You see that? That is the Sword of Wealth and Power, not just the regular Sword of Wealth and Power, but the foil text raised foil version. It's one of the most expensive cards associated with Outlaws of Thunder Junction, coming from the Big Score expansion, what I like to think of as expansion, Big Score sheet. Nice way to start off the program. We have Savage Smash in the breaking news style. 1 green, 1 red, 1 colorless. For a sorcery, target creature you control gets +2/+2 until the end of turn. It fights a creature you don't control. So it's a nice way of trying to eliminate an opponent's creature, give your creature a temporary buff, be able to try and eliminate an opponent's creature, and then still have the character available for attacking purposes. Next, all right, get this open. A little Magic Gathering sticker on the plastic. This is Grenzo. In fact, let's go ahead and just open her up. So this is the first card from the, that's my first card from the secret lair that I've ordered. Obviously you could have got secret lair bundle back in the day, but I found it to be cheaper just to price out the cards, and I'm guessing that's because I didn't get the secret card or whatever they call the extra card they usually throw in, but I'm okay with that. Again, I am just looking to collect cards from Outlaws of Thunder Junction, and it's my understanding that extra card that's thrown in could be from anywhere. Now, granted, it could be a really good card, really nice card, one I could possibly put back on the market, but I'm also comfortable simply buying the singles from reputable websites. And here we have Grenzo, Havoc Razor, 2 red for 2/2. Whenever he does combat damage, you get to choose one of 2 abilities. He can either go to target creature that an opponent controls, or you can exile the top card of that player's library, and you may be able to cast it if you've got enough mana. But what I really like about this character is the artwork. Yeah, we're talking about Old West, and here we have a guy involved in a bar fight. Has someone in a headlock and is about to hit him in the face with his clenched fist. So again, first card of the secret lair drop that I've ordered to come in, and again, one of my favorite arts from that lair. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Tornado. I believe in the first mail call I had a Tornado, but it was the foil version, and again, I am trying to specifically collect the non-foil version unless the foil version is the only version available. There are some cards associated with OTJ that are like that fit that description, but Tornado is not one of those. So I went back online, reordered a non-foil Tornado in the breaking news style, and it has just arrived. Talking about the secret layers, now we have our second piece of mail and as many openings that are secret layer cards. Here we have, looks to be the poker faces. All right, there were 5 total. I can't remember how many I ordered from one location, or if all these cards here happen to be the poker cards, but certainly we have the Goblin King. 2 red, 1 colorless for 2/2. Nice little card, nice little artwork on it. Next, we have the wanted poster for Greasefang, Okiba Boss, or Okiba. Maybe it's Okiba. 1 black, 1 white, 1 colors for a 4/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of your next upkeep. A lot of vehicles. That'd be a nice character to have in. Again, for a 4/3, seems relatively cheap to me. 1 black, 1 white, 1 colorless. Seems like a pretty good card to have in a vehicle deck. Next, we got our second poker face card. Jaxus, the Troublemaker. 1 red, 3 colorless, for a 2/3. My question would be, with these poker cards, apparently there's not a list, at least on the card itself, of the abilities of the character. So are these cards you would play with? If you did play with them, would they possess the abilities the card normally comes with? Or because the abilities are not listed, would these essentially be a weaker version? That is something I'm curious about. Next, looks like we have Professional Facebreaker. You get another poker card. 1 red, 2 others. 3 for a 2/3 again, depending on the abilities and depending on if you get to use the abilities on a card that does not have the ability stated. It could be useful, or it could be, in my opinion, maybe a bit expensive for just a base 2/3. Next, another poker face. Rankle, Master of Pranks. 2 black, 2 others, 3/3. Now I have a regular version of Prankle. So I know I have a regular version of Rankle, Master of Pranks. So I know there are other abilities he possesses. So again, whether this card would also possess those abilities or not is something that I would be curious to find out. And we're back to the Goblin King. All right, we have an Outlaws Merriment. This is 2 white, 1 red, 1 colorless. In the breaking news fashion, it is a enchantment, which gives you the ability to randomly create 1 of 3 token creatures. So you can create a 3/1 human warrior with trample and haste, a 2/1 human cleric with lifelink and haste, or a 1/2 human rogue with haste, and when this creature enters the battlefield, it deals 1 damage to any target. I think it's a nice little red enchantment to throw out there. Produces multiple token creatures, which I don't think is ever really a bad thing. It is something that I would seriously think about putting in one of my red decks. No, red-white. It's red-white. All right. And this one. All right. Some more Secret Lair cards. Corona, False God. So 1 green, 1 red, 1 black, 1 blue, 1 white, and 1 generic, 1 colorless. So a total of 6 mana to cast Corona. A 5/5 with haste. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player untaps Corona, False God, and gains control of it. Whenever Corona attacks, creatures of the creature type of your choice get +3/+3 until the end of turn. I think it's interesting. So a side note. In one of my earlier videos, I mentioned that I didn't think Prismatic Vista was that great of a card. And I quite literally, 2 hours after putting up the video, one of my good friends sends me a text message and says, "What are you thinking? Dude, that is a great card." And of course, he is a much better player than I am. I am a casual. So this, I say that to say this. Corona may be a very powerful creature. It may even be a pretty good commander if you're playing commander. I'm just looking at that mana cost, and I'm looking at the idea that you have to constantly pass Corona around, and maybe that's the joke there, assuming I'm pronouncing the name right. Maybe that's the joke, you got to constantly pass it. But this other side, it feels like maybe if I am the one, as the card's owner, if I am the one that gets to constantly choose creatures that get +3/+3, then it might still be beneficial. Again, my initial thought is it's maybe not that great of a card, but as I apparently have shown with my earlier comment about Prismatic Vista, I may very well be wrong. Dust Animus. I'm going to go with Animus. Dust Animus. Whether it's Dust Animus or Dust Animus. 1 white, 1 colorless, flying, 2/3. If you control 5 or more untapped lands, Dust Animus or Animus enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters and a lifelink counter on it. Plot of 1 white, 1 colorless. You know, it's a good card early on, but it can be even better, right, if you draw a little bit later. It can become a 4/5 later with lifelink and flying. So that's not a bad card, particularly for its base cost. All right, my next secret layer card that's come in. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger, 2 green, 6 colorless for 7/6. With Trample, whenever you tap a land for mana, add 1 mana of any type that land produced. You're doubling your mana, at least on 1 land. That's not bad. Whenever an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap. Oh, I think that's the really nice ability there. That land doesn't untap during its controller's next untap phase. That's pretty powerful. And it looks like there are multiple cards in this. So let's go ahead and peel back the tape. All right, nope, I was wrong. Vorinclex is a single, but still darn good single. All right, Fortune, Loyal Steed. Looks like the extended art version. 1 white, 2 colorless for 2/4. And Fortune, Loyal Steed enters the battlefield, scry 2. That's not bad. Whenever Fortune attacks while saddled, at end of combat, exile it and up to 1 creature that saddled it this turn, then return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. And saddle 1. I'm assuming that exile kind of keeps them safe, particularly if it's one of your own creatures that are saddling. At least that's my thought. Maybe that keeps them safe for a bit. Maybe you have some abilities that give you bonuses for bringing cards out of exile. 2/4 and get to scry 2 for 3, and that's not bad. Magna the Outlaw, 2/1 for 1 red, 1 colorless. Other dwarves get +1/+0. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token, sacrifice 5 treasure tokens, sacrifice. Oh, now that ink has become an issue. So sacrifice 5 treasure tokens, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle. Humiliate. All right, the non-foil version. So this was one of the cards that in mass ordering, I got a little bit tired and wasn't always paying close attention to what I was ordering. And unfortunately, Humiliate, I ordered a foil version. Again, I'm trying to collect specifically non-foil. Why? Usually they're cheaper. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Usually they're cheaper. And I ended up ordering a foil Humiliate the first time around, so I went back and made sure to get a non-foil version. 1 black, 1 white. Target opponent gets to reveal their hand to me. I get to choose a card from it. They discard that card, and I get to put a +1/+1 counter on a creature I control. So not the worst thing for 2/1. Again, you're banking on the idea that your opponent has a pretty nasty card in hand, but sometimes they do. Sometimes you might know that. Abilities that let them put cards back in their hand. In that situation, it's not a bad little card. All right. Mimnarch, another secret layer card. 4/5 for 7 colorless. It's an artifact creature. For 2 blue and 1 colorless, target permanent becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. For 1 blue and 3 colorless, gain control of target artifact. So this is a nice way of slowly, I say slowly, it's very mana intensive, but a way of stealing creatures right off your opponent's board, right? Like I said, it seems a bit expensive to do that in 1 turn. You're going to end up spending 3 blue and 4 colors, so 7. So in theory, if you had 14 mana available in 1 turn, you could play Mimnarch. It doesn't look like any of these abilities are tappable, which is the nice part. So you could, in theory, set them down, turn an opponent's character into an artifact, gain control of that artifact. Again, that would be incredibly mana intensive, but it is a possibility. All right, and the last envelope for today. Scorching Shot, one of the promo cards, I believe. 2 red for 5 damage. I think back to the old days where you had Lightning Bolt, 1 red for 3 damage. It's not quite the same ratio as Lightning Bolt used to be, but 5 damage isn't something to ignore. If you get this out early, if an opponent gets a powerful creature out early, you get 5 damage, could put it in the graveyard. So it's a nice little sorcery to have. Again, to me, it harkens back to old school red direct damage cheese. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, we are at a close for Mail Call number 6. Thank you for joining us.